Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Firebase month evening 3 session, co-hosted by GDG Pretoria and GDG Johannesburg. For those of you who have been following this series, I'm sure you are excited to see what's coming next. We are just as excited, and our speakers today are ready and raring to go to tell us more. So, what is GDG? GDG is Google Developer Groups, developers who are interested in Google developer technology. So, from Firebase, everything from Firebase to Dart, from Go to Flutter, TensorFlow to GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and more. Now, basically, we meet regularly. For this Firebase month series, we've been meeting every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. South African Standard Time. But I want to just let you be aware that next week we will not have a meetup. We will skip 1 week next week, and we will have our last meetup of the series on the 2nd of December. So please be aware, if you're following the series, the next meetup is not next week. It's not next Wednesday as previously advertised, but it's on the 2nd of December. All right. And if you want to join our meetup pages, there they are on the screen. And you can follow us on Twitter at GDG Johannesburg and at GDG Pretoria. All right. So like any community, we have a code of conduct that we abide by. Basically, by attending this session, you agree to live by the code of conduct. And basically, it's simple, really. It's basic. Be nice and assume positive intent. If you want to see more about the guidelines, just visit that link with the guidelines, the link on the screen over here. We have an anti-harassment policy because we want to make sure that we have a harassment-free event experience for everyone. And if you feel that someone is harassing you or someone is not abiding by the code of conduct, please send an email to gdgjohannesburg@gmail.com. You can also send to gdgpretoriasa@gmail.com. All right. Our sponsors for tonight's event are Luno, ABSA, Google, DVT, OfferZen, and all of these are offering various, they're sponsoring us in various ways. Luno, thank you for the speaker gifts that you are giving us. ABSA, we thank you for the swag that you are providing. And DVT is sponsoring this platform that we are on at the moment. So thank you guys so much for the sponsorship. Let's continue to partner. While we are on the topic of our sponsors, you might be excited to know that Luno is hiring. Luno is hiring. They are hiring React Native developers, they're hiring Angular developers, and DVT is also hiring. They're looking for React Native or iOS developers. All right. So please feel free to reach out to them on their various websites, and you can apply for those positions. If you want to be a speaker, please get in touch. It's the same email addresses, gdgjohannesburg@gmail.com or gdgpretoriasa@gmail.com. It doesn't matter if you've spoken before or not. There's a first time for everything. So every speaker is welcome, whether you're experienced or not. For tonight, our event is as follows. After this welcome, which is where we're at right now, we're gonna go into Rosário Pereira Fernandes talk. He's a Firebase GDE from Mozambique. So we're very excited to hear Fernandes speak today, Rosario speak today. Afterwards, there will be a talk from Charles Okot. Charles is an Android tech lead at Luno as well, and he'll be talking about Crashlytics. And then after that, we'll have our closing, which will be a draw for our mystery prizes sponsored by ABSA. And then we will wrap everything up after that. So these prizes come off of the back, the feedback that you provide. So once you submit your feedback, you'll see the QR code that we'll share soon. Just provide feedback and stick around until the end of the event, and be one of the lucky winners to win some swag. All right. And speaking of that QR code, this is the QR code. Please submit your feedback. You can maybe capture the QR code now and start filling in the feedback, but wait until all the speakers have spoken to give us feedback about the speakers themselves. All right. Okay, so moving along, we will move into the talk by Rosario. And before we get into that, I'm just gonna introduce myself. I had not done that. My name is Tashinga Pemiwa. I'm an Android developer and one of the co-organizers for the GDG Pretoria meetup. Yeah, you can call me Tashman, or you can just call me Tash. Many of my friends call me that. Yeah, and I will now hand over to Rosario.
Thank you very much, Tash. First of all, I want to thank GDG Johannesburg and GDG Pretoria for having me here this evening. Like Tash said, my name is Rosario. I'm a GDE for Firebase. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to discuss something with me about this presentation or about Firebase in general, you can reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is right there. It's _RP Fernandes. So before we start, let me just share a bit about me. Like I said, I'm from Mozambique. I'm a Firebase GDE. I work mostly as an Android developer. I'm also an organizer at a GDG community here in my city, which is called Maputo. I usually write technical blog posts on Medium. Most of those are in Portuguese, which is my main language, but I do have a few in English, which you might find interesting. I think most of them are about Firebase and some of the old ones about Android in general. I love contributing to open source, and on my free time, I'm usually playing video games. So today we're here to talk about A/B testing. So I would like to start with a practical example. So let's say you have these two options or these two buttons, which one do you think looks better on your app? Is it the first button which says sign up for free, or is it the second button which says register for more? And notice how the colors are also different. So which one would you choose? And would you bet your whole company's future on it? Because that's kind of what you do when you make decisions like this every day. So before we start, let's see, why is A/B testing so important? So before telling you what A/B testing is, let me tell you why it's important. As you saw in the example I showed you earlier, there are some important decisions that you need to make every day, such as button colors or text that are showing on our app. Sometimes it could be something like, if you're building a game, it could be like, how hard is that game? What's the difficulty level? And although those changes might seem small, together they might play a big part on your app's success. So that's why it's important to always test those changes. And there are a few number of ways which you can test the changes. One of them is creating groups for testing. You can, for example, share the app with a few changes with your friends, your coworkers, your family, or even create focus testing groups for those. But the problem with those groups is that they're usually biased. I mean, because they're your friends and or your coworkers, and they probably work on the app as well. And also, they might be a small group of users, so you might not be able to get the full picture. Another way of testing those changes is to make those changes periodically. So you could have like, on the first week you try a simple button, maybe let's say that purple button or blue, and 2 weeks later you change the color for something else, you make it orange, and then once again, and for another 2 weeks you change it to purple or something else, and you try to see the results. But the problem with testing it periodically is that you might get some differences caused by external events. So maybe on your week 3, your app was featured in a blog post or in the news, and it's now getting more users. And you might not know if they're coming exactly because you changed the button or because of that blog post. It could be maybe because it's, I don't know, it's holiday season and people don't tend to use your app on holiday season or stuff like that. So that's when A/B testing comes in. So basically, A/B testing is this concept of creating groups to test your app, and those groups are usually a division of all of your users. So let's say you have a bunch of you have your whole group of users, and then you from this big group you separate a smaller group called Group A, and then you can, for example, separate a second one. We would call it Group B. You can always have more groups than that, like Group C, Group D, but for this example, let's just focus on two groups to make it simpler to understand. So you could, for example, say this is the default button for the app, the first one which you see here, say sign up for free, and that's what everyone will see. And then you divide another group called Group A, which you'll show them a different button, which is orange and has a different text. And you can have like a third group, say another 10% of the users which are seeing a third button. And then based on how those users behave, you can decide which one is better. So for that, we can use Firebase. I mean, that's the whole point of the event. It's called Firebase Month for a reason. So for those of you who haven't been following the series, let me just give you a quick introduction to what Firebase is. In short, Firebase is just a platform for mobile app development. I would say it's those platforms that are usually called backend as a service. So basically, Firebase offers you a very large group of tools. It has like 18 tools. to help you developing your app. And today I'm not gonna focus on them all. Sorry, I'll mostly focus on remote config, which is the tool we use for A/B testing. So, in a simple manner, I would say Firebase remote config is just a simple key value store that lives in the cloud. So you might be used to key value store such as JSON. So think of it as just a huge JSON file that is stored on the cloud, which you can then access those values and use them on your app. So, in short, how would we add remote config to our app? I'll be focusing more on the Android side because I work mostly with Android development, but it shouldn't be much different from how you would do it in iOS and JavaScript. You can always check the Firebase documentation to see how it's done on those other platforms. I'll actually share the link to the docs later on this presentation. So adding it to Android, it's pretty straightforward. There's a bit of configuration needed to do on the Firebase console. I'll also share a link to that later. But after you do all the configurations, you just simply need to add the dependencies to your build.gradle file. So here we are adding the Firebase bill of materials, which allows you to use one single version to update all the Firebase library dependencies. And we are adding the SDK for remote config in this line. And we also need to add the SDK for Google Analytics, like we're doing in this line, which I'll explain why later on this presentation. So like I said, remote config is basically a key value store. So what happens is you need to first set the default values of your key value store on your Android app, which can be done by creating an XML file that looks like this. And then in this file, you'll set the default values. So here what I'm doing is basically I have two properties which I might want to change in my app. The first one is the label, which is that text that you saw on the button. And I'm assigning it the key button underscore label. And the default value will be sign up for free. And I also have another property which will control the button color. So I'm assigning this default value. And then once you have this XML file on your project, let's call it default underscore values, you can then tell remote config to use this file as the default values. So to do that, you just need to call this code in Kotlin, or you can also do it in Java. The syntax might be a bit different, but I think most of my presentation is in Kotlin here. So this would be Firebase remote config dot set default say sync, and then pass it the name of the file. If at some point you need to fetch data from the server, you just call remote config dot fetch and activate. So what this does is it pulls data from the remote config cloud, and then it activates on your device, which means that those default values that you had set on your XML file will now be replaced from the values that are set on the server. So if you have those values and at some point you decide you want to change the label, you can simply go to the Firebase console and you change it on your side, and then everything after the device fetches the new values from the server, your users will see an updated version of your app with the new values that you set on the cloud. So how do we do that? It's kind of simple, because we're only calling to remote config, and then we get those strings from remote config, and we're simply setting the text and the background color, to our button. As you can see, the keys that I'm passing here are the keys that I had previously defined in my XML file, which are the same keys that should be visible on the Firebase console when I try to update values. Okay, so that's the remote config part for us. But the thing is, we might need a way of knowing what's our user doing in our app. So in order to track that, we can use Google Analytics for Firebase, formerly known as simply Google Analytics. So in order to track user events, we can use this tool called Google Analytics, which we already added a dependency of in our build.gradle file. So now we can actually use the SDK. So I'll be using two events to track what our user is doing in our app. So for example, we can say when the user clicks on that sign up button, we can say we can log the event sign up started, and then if he goes through the whole authentication flow and then finishes signing up, we can log the event sign up finished. And why are we doing this? Because we need a way to measure if our button was successful or not. And I mean, clicking on the button could be meaningful, yes. But we actually want to know if the user really finished the whole process, and I think that's what should count for us, and not simple button clicks. So that's why we need two events: one for the click, and another one which is the one we're actually gonna measure, which is the sign up finished. So now let's create an experiment with A/B testing. So here we first need to go to the Firebase console, which is at console.firebase.google.com. If you look at the left side, you'll see all the Firebase tools that we can use. And here below, just below Grow, you'll find A/B testing. So we open the A/B testing tab, and we have this button here called Create Experiment. We go ahead and click that. On Create Experiments, we'll see three options. So it asks which service do we want to experiment with. That's because A/B testing works with three different services. It's not Firebase Cloud Messaging, Firebase In-App Messaging, and Remote Config. I won't be going into those two in this presentation, so I won't be mentioning notifications or in-app messaging. I'll just focus on remote config to keep the presentation simple. But I'll probably link some of those later on if you're interested. So in this case, we select remote config, and we should see a screen like this. So we start from the basics. It asks for the experiment name. So I'll just say I'm testing my sign up button. And optionally, we can provide an experiment description. So I'm wondering what's the best color for our sign up button. I'm just explaining what I'm trying to test here. Click on next, and then we have the targeting section, which asks us which app are we using. I've selected an app. If you have more than one app in your project, you can also test that. But to make it simple, I recommend you start by testing in one app first, and then you see how it goes, and then you can start exploring more apps. So then it asks you what's the exposure. So like how many of your users, or what's the percentage of your users which you want to be exposed to this experiment. Usually the default value is 5. I think between 5 or 10 should be fine. For this sample project that I was using, the number of users is pretty low. That's why you're only seeing one user here. But if you have a larger project, you'll probably see more users. There's an option also to select an activation event, but I'll skip that. Oops. Yeah, there we go. And then the next section that we have is goals. So goals basically asks what metrics do we want to increase? What are we looking to improve in our app, and how can we measure it? As you can see, by default, it already adds two metrics. One is retention between 4 to 7 days, and also the crash-free users. Those are really important because obviously you don't want users to finish the sign up if they're getting now more crashes, or if they're leaving your app constantly. So it's important to keep those so that you see that your change is affecting users, but it's not creating more crashes or anything like that. So you keep those default values, and you also add your own. In my case, it's the sign up finished, which is the one that like I said, I want to measure. Let me just remind you that this came from Google Analytics. It's the event we're logging in our code. So the final section is the variants one. So here you can establish first of all the baseline. So this is the baseline variant, which I can decide which parameters will be changed for this variant. So in my case are those two, the button color and the label. So usually I tend to leave this value the same as the default one that I set. Here it should actually be signed up for free, like I did on the XML. This was a mistake, but I think you'll understand. And then you can start creating more variants. So for example, I can create a purple variant of that button. So I'll assign it a different color, and we can assign it a different label. And I can create, like, say, the third variant. So this would be A, this would be B. So this variant it could be like an orange button with some color, and the label will also be a different one. Once we're done, we hit finish, and we should see the experiment marked as a draft. So in this screen, we can see all the data about the experiment, how many users are we distributing it for, how many variants did we create, and details like that. And while we are here, we can actually test this experiment. So in order to test the experiment, we might need to write just a few lines of code, I mean. So first of all, what we're gonna need is a Firebase installation token. This is a token that it's unique for each device. So you'll need to get the token for your testing device if you wanna test the experiment before starting it. So in order to get the token, the code is Firebase installations get instance get token, and then this should show you the token on the logcat, on the Android Studio logcat. So your token will look something like this. It's basically an unreadable string, and it's a bit long. Before I tell you how do we use this token, let me just tell you in advance that usually remote config takes like at least an hour or more to load changes from the server. So if you want those changes to be loaded immediately, you can enable debug mode, which is done by changing the remote config configurations and reducing our minimum fetch interval to 0. This should allow you to get the new values from the server instantly. So this is the code to change the configuration. So now that we have our token, we can go ahead. I think I skipped this part, but you click on these 3 dots here on the corner, and you should see an option called Manage Test Devices, which opens up this pop-up that you're seeing here. So you paste the token that you got from your device. So let's say this is the token, and then you can choose which variant you want to test on that specific device. So I could, for example, select purple variant here and hit save. This means that the next time I run my app, I should be seeing the purple variant on my screen. I should be seeing the purple button. You can always come back to this screen and change the variant, and you'll be seeing updated button on your app. So once you've tested your variants, if everything is correct, if you think everything is right, and you're ready to start the experiment, you simply click on Start Experiment, which is this button that was shown here. And once you click on Start Experiment, you should see something like this, waiting for experiment data to arrive. So what Firebase will do this once you click it is it will basically distribute that variant to a specific group of users, and it should take like around at least 2 weeks for you to get a notification, probably by email, where it's gonna say the experiment is done, or the experiment, or we found a winner, or something like that. And once you do, you might want to take a look at the results. So in order to show you what the results look like, I wanted to bring some real app data, but turns out my company didn't let me use those. So I started looking for an alternative, and I actually found one in the Firebase documentation. It's a bit old because this is back when A/B testing was still in alpha, but it should help us understand a bit of how everything works. So this is from a game that I'm guessing it's partners with Firebase, because they allow them to use their data. It's called Bingo Blast, and it was they were wondering if turning on, if enabling or disabling ads would somehow improve their retention and their daily user engagement. So for that, they created an A/B testing where they created one different group which had ads disabled. So everyone had their ads enabled, and a different group, let's call it group A, had the ads disabled. So this is the result they got after 2 weeks. And as you can see here, it says there is no leader in achieving the primary goal. What this means is maybe the experiment went fine, but what happened is maybe no variant performed better than the other one. So this is not actually bad. It doesn't mean your experiment didn't work. It did. It basically tells you there were no crashes, nothing different happened with in your app, which is actually something good. So if you scroll down below, if you see here, you can get more details. Oh, this is actually from this when you open this tab here, details. You can see a few more details of the experiment you were running. So as you can see, here's the variants they had. So the baseline variant had ads set to true, and the other variant, which we are calling group A, had the ads disabled, so it was set to false. Like I was saying, if you scroll down, you can actually see the data that comes from that event. So this control group is our baseline variant, and as you can see on our group A variant, which is the one with ads disabled, there was the retention changed a bit from -7 to 13%. As you can see, this is kind of a huge interval. So this kind of normal when in cases when we don't have a winner. So in this case, since we had no winner, it's kind of normal for Firebase to provide a huge interval, because it's not it can tell you like if the ads disabled variant worked better or not. So retention didn't change much. There's a large interval there. If you hover at those details, you can see more statistics about it, like the median and middle and stuff like that. I think this is mostly related to statistics. And then if you scroll down a bit, you can also see more details about this retention. there's, for example, probability to beat the baseline. Since there was only one variant, the probability is pretty high. And there's also this probability to be best variant. Since we only had one variant, as you can see, those values actually are just 71% for the group A, 29 for the baseline. Since there was no winner declared, it looks like this. But if there was a winner, it would actually look kind of like this. If the values are usually showed in green. And you can see in this other example from a different experiment, there were actually group A and group B, and you can see that group B did better. So their probability to be the best variant it's actually 84%, while the other one is only 16, and the baseline is actually not performing very well. As you can see, it's just slightly greater than 1%. So in this case, I would eventually prefer to go with my variant B instead of the other ones. So in that case, if you want to roll out this variant B to everyone, you can come here to the experiments, back to the experiment that we created, and clicking on those three dots on the corner, we'll see a bunch of options. There is, for example, duplicate experiment. In case you want to create another experiment with similar values, you can use that option and then edit maybe some variants or add some variants and run another experiment. There is this increased distribution, which allows you to change that value. If you're first showing it to 10% of your users, you can now increase that number for 15 or 20 or something like that. There's also the rollout variant option, which allows you to basically declare the winner for you. So like I showed in this case, since level up to unlock was the variant that had 84%, it was the best variant. I may want to use this variant as the default for everyone. So to do that, I can simply click on rollout variant and maybe set it to 100%, and then all of my users will now be seeing the new variant. And yeah, since they got the new value, they'll probably be happy, and so will you. Here are some links that might help you get started with remote config, with A/B testing, and with analytics. I'll share those slides with you later on, and that's all for me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Rosario. That was a really interesting talk on A/B testing. I learned a few things there, and I'm hoping that our audience learned some stuff as well. So at this time, I'm going to open up and give the audience an opportunity to react and ask some questions. Yeah, let's talk A/B testing, guys. Right, at the moment, there aren't any questions per se, but I can see that there's people responding saying top.
Thank you, Bernardo. Usually when there are no questions, I keep wondering, did I explain it well, or did I explain it so bad that nobody ever understood anything?
I think it was a great talk, and people hopefully, if they're like me, they followed. There's one question I had on one of your slides. Could you maybe share your slide Again,
Thank you.
I think it's about the third or fourth slide before the end, where you are showing the results. Yeah, the slide before this one.
This one?
Yeah, on the the 29% versus the 71%. I didn't understand why you said there wasn't an outright winner.
Yeah, it's because Firebase usually highlights when there's a winner like by a high chance. So if this was like the example we saw here, as you can see, there was really, this is greater than 80%, which is very good. So Firebase usually highlights it in green. But in this case, since it didn't highlight, it means the difference wasn't that big. So Firebase decided not to call a winner in this case. So that's why in the results overview you can see that they just said there is no leader. So
Yeah.
it means you basically they didn't want to like make a decision for you in this case. They would prefer
Okay.
to
Okay.
just show you the results and not tell you which one is the best. You'll just choose it for yourself.
Okay. Is that does that mean there's a certain difference that you expect? Like it should be more than 50% for it to be an outright winner or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. Firebase usually there's an actually amount that Firebase chooses to like trigger the winner. So if you don't reach that, it will just let you choose. So that's up to you now. So if you're happy
Okay.
with the 74, you go with the ads disabled group and release it.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I see here another. Oh, there's Carlos saying, "Sorry, I just came." Uh, yeah, that's the beauty of these online meetups is that you can still
Yeah.
get the fresh stuff of our, our channels.
Yeah, it's
All
cool,
good.
Carlos. I hope you enjoyed the recording.
Great. Ruben says, all good, thanks. Till MZ is in the same time zone.
Same time zone. Yes, we
Yeah,
are on the same time
we are.
zone.
Yeah. Okay, great stuff. With that said, I'm going to just show a reminder. Thank you, Rosario. Thanks for the great talk.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Before the next speaker comes along, I'm just going to show our feedback form again. If you want to win one of our mystery prizes, please. And today, ABSA is going to give away 4 mystery prizes and not the usual 2. So please make sure that you send in your feedback at the end of this. And I'm going to now move over and introduce our next speaker. Next speaker is Charles Okot. Charles, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was about to say you're muted there. All right, it's good to see you again, and welcome to the platform. Yeah, we are looking forward to hearing your talk on Crashlytics. I see it's a little bit more than just Crashlytics, but I'll leave you to it. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tashinga, or Tashman, as you prefer to be called. And thank you, GDG Pretoria and GDG Johannesburg for having me for this brief talk on Crashlytics. But like Tashman says, I have a little more under my sleeve. Just going to introduce briefly app distribution, because I mean, in order to gather metrics with Crashlytics, which is what it is, you need to distribute your app. Okay, so to start, I mean, there is a little bit about me. Charles Okot is my name, and I'm not that active on Twitter, but that's my handle if you'd like to reach me. I work as an Android developer and a technical lead with Luno. And to begin our talk, here's something that every app developer should be concerned about. I mean, it is a competitive ecosystem, and if you want to have a chance, then your app needs to be crash free. And perhaps not, it may not be possible to get it to 100%. I mean, you know, as an Android developer, we develop for a very fragmented environment. I mean, lots of devices, different sorts, screen sizes, and update status. Yeah, so you can at least get it to a certain level that you think is appropriate. And yeah, as close as 100 is always nice. Okay, so how do we get our apps crash free? There are tools, quality tools that are part of the Firebase platform that Google thankfully provide to us as developers. And today I am talking of two of them, briefly on Firebase app distribution and Crashlytics to a little more detail. So what is the use of Firebase app distribution? Basically helps you to distribute your apps to trusted users or testers. It could be within your organization, or if you are an indie developer, maybe family and friends. And with that, you are able to get feedback early and often. And it is a service that it's just been around for a little over a year, I think. And it's proven really useful. I must mention it's like Crashlytics. It carried over from the Fabric tools, and with Fabric you had Fabric Beta that you used to distribute. But now with that gone away, we have Firebase app distribution to help us get our apps out early. And it's a simple tool to use. Sorry, you basically need to set up testers and tester groups. I will show briefly when I show a demo towards the end, the different configuration process that you need to go through. So you set up your testers and you set up invitation links, and essentially you can group your testers and have a link that when they sign up, they are sent to that specific group, which I will show later. So that's a bit about Firebase app distribution. And let's move over to Crashlytics now. Okay, so Crashlytics is a lightweight and crash reporting service that will help you to track, prioritize, and fix stability issues in your app. So with, having found a way to distribute your apps, now you you have a way to get feedback on your app quality, and this is where Crashlytics comes in. And it is good in grouping crashes. So essentially, if your app is crashing a lot, you're not going to get like every crash singularly. It groups them into easily manageable chunks, so that well, it's based on the stack traces. So based on the stack traces from each of the crashes, it gets grouped together, so you can actually page through the crashes that are similar, and you can set up for alerts so that you are notified when a certain issue actually increases in severity. Okay, so let me quickly switch over to Android Studio so I can show you a brief integration bits that you need to add to your app to get Crashlytics working. One moment. Okay, so the first thing you really need is to set up for Google Play Services, and that is this line over here that you need to add in your project level app. I mean, a build Gradle, build the Gradle file. So you add that, and that is to enable your app to connect to the Google services. And then with that in place, for Crashlytics, you need to add the plugin. And as noted here, you should at least be on 2.00 onwards if you're running Android Studio 4.1. With your dependencies in place for your plugin, you add you apply the plugins actually in your app level build Gradle file. And so here we apply the Google Services plugin, and we also apply the Firebase Crashlytics plugin. And then there is just a couple more lines to add. So you are advised to use the bill of materials provided for the Firebase platform. So with that, you pick a version, and each bill of materials version is curated so that the dependencies that are part of that are actually known to work together. So in our case, we're interested in Crashlytics, but we're also adding analytics in the mix so that we get some predefined events, things like what screen was the user on when they got a crash, for example. So analytics will help with that. And right, so we add Crashlytics and analytics, and that is that. And now I'm going to switch over to the Firebase console so I can show you an app that has, I mean, this app on the Firebase control. One moment. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Right. So here is the landing screen of the Crashlytics tool. So we get different kinds of events. Crashlytics can record crashes, and I'll show you also that there's what you call non-fatals. Essentially, the exceptions you log on your own. For example, you catch an exception, but you want to also know about it. You can log that. There's an API to allow you to log that. So Crashlytics, like I said earlier, groups your crashes. So in this case, we have a crash that has occurred 2 times for one user. And if you go in here, we see that you can actually view what device the crash happened on, what operating system it was running, and whether your app was in the foreground or background, and the group of similar crashes you can page through with details here, like what time it occurred, and of course you have the stack trace down here. Okay, if we go back one level. Okay, and so Crashlytics, once you've integrated the SDK, you can actually immediately start getting crashes captured. But if you have more that you want to capture, there's a way to log messages. Let's say you have a crash that is proven hard to track down. You can add messages. So if you check on this crash here, you can actually log a message which shows up in the log section. Okay, that is not the right one. Let's go back. There's one with log. Okay, let's go to logs here. Okay, so as we see here in the logs tab, you get a list of events that occurred just before your crash. So here we got a screen view event, and then the user clicked on a button that says divide by 0 as causing the crash. And so that is a log message that you can send along with your user journey to help you track down a crash. And then earlier I mentioned that Crashlytics records non-fatals, or rather you have the ability to track custom exceptions. So here, if you go to non-fatals, here's one example. So the earlier exception, we caught it and we logged a custom exception, a runtime exception, and you can specify a message to describe or give more detail to the crash. Okay. So that is that on a brief walk of Crashlytics. Then to briefly show app distribution, if you look over the left, there is a app distribution link. Click on that. You're taken here to a tab where you can upload your APKs here that you want to share with your users. The setup steps involve creating testers and tester groups. In this case, we have a group called internal testers. You can add users right here. And with that, they will get a notification. And in this case, this group has an invitation link, which is set up so that when a user signs up, they get added to this group that you set up. Okay, so that is my brief intro to app distribution and Crashlytics. Okay, right. That is it from me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Joss. That was an interesting talk, and we are learning new things every time. Firebase is so big. You know, I didn't know about app distribution until now, and I had heard about Crashlytics, but I'd never seen what it looks like or anything. So I'm quite, you know, my mind is expanding. I'm learning more. So thank you so much, and thank you for showing us how it all looks in Android Studio. I'm sure a lot of the people here on this live stream are actually Android developers. So yeah, so that's great. I'm going to open up again for questions. All right, I see that there's some excitement, and there's a question: how do we add logs to a crash?
Okay, right. So if I can share again, sorry, I gonna share and.
Okay, it seems.
So if you.
Oh, here we go.
Look, okay, so I've added just a quick demo app here. Okay, so basically, with the Crashlytics SDK, you get access to the Firebase Crashlytics instance via this call here, and you have there are methods you can call on this instance. So this is the one I used to log a message just before this crash that happened. So you can basically create breadcrumbs of your user flow up to a point where you expect issues. So in this case, we are looking at the user clicked the bypass. So that's that. And let's see the non-fatal, you log it via another method. So let's go down here to say a record exception. So it takes a throwable. So in my case, I recorded a runtime exception. And you can provide a message and pass along the exception that occurred. So if we caught this exception, we would pass it in. Yeah. Okay. So that I hope answers the question.
Cool. Thanks, Charles. There's another question by Ngobile, and it says the testing, is it manual? Is it automated or manual?
Not too clear to me what the question is.
Maybe Ngobile should clarify with the follow up there. It's not too clear what you mean.
So if in any case, if the reference is to app distribution, that is it's a way to share your app to testers for manual testing. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But okay. If there's a follow-up question, I'm happy to take it. Yeah.
Okay. I think that is what he was referring to.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Rosario says, great presentation.
Thank you.
So you've got the backing of GDE on your presentation. So great work.
Too kind, thank you.
I'm gonna give another 30 seconds or so if there are any other questions coming through. All right, more people saying thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through. So Charles, thank you so much. We look forward to having you again in the future, either on GDG Pretoria or GDG Joburg. We are one big community with our separate chapters, but we definitely support each other's events. So we look forward to seeing you join one of our meetups again. All right. Thanks a lot. At this time, I'm going to put up the feedback form, and what I'd like everyone to do is just put in your feedback. And we will do a draw. Kutazo is going to do a draw in the background. And once we'll give it about 3 minutes or so, just to give everyone an opportunity. And then we will pick 4 names, and those 4 names will be our winners for tonight. And what you are winning is a mystery gift pack, courtesy of ABSA. So yeah, I'm going to step away and give everyone an opportunity to respond to the feedback. To respond with feedback, rather. time's running out. I'll give another minute or two just to see, just to give everyone a chance. 4 winners are going to walk away with a mystery gift courtesy of ABSA. All right. As the names are filtering through, I'm just gonna remind everyone that our next meetup is on the 2nd of December. We're not having one next week. Our next Firebase month meetup is not going to be next week due to some unforeseen circumstances. And we will probably do it next week. We'll probably do it on the 2nd of December. The reason I say probably is that we will put out a poll just to find out if people would still like to have that last meetup, seeing that it'll be December season and everyone is starting to be in a festive mood. You may not be interested in a meetup in December, but to wrap this series off, we would like to do one last one. So let us know on our Twitter and on our respective Twitter channels and our meetup sites. Just check out. We will put out a survey, and you can just let us know if you want to hear the last presentations in this series. All right, Kutazo, are we ready? All right, I have 4 winners. Carlos, you are our first winner for tonight. Cleo, you're also a winner. You're a second winner. Mobile, you're also a winner tonight. And we have Victoria. These are our 4 winners for tonight. Congratulations. Please reach out to GDG Pretoria SA. GDG Pretoria SA, and we will send you at gmail.com, and we will send you details of your reach out to us with your physical address. Sorry about that. Reach out to us with your physical address, and we will send you your mystery gifts. So winners again, Carlos. I'm not gonna try to say your surname. I don't want to butcher it. I think it's Jimenez, but it could be Jimenez. Cleo Banda, Nqobile Zwane Shabangu, and Victoria Rottenbach. Congratulations, you guys, and thank you for continuing to support GDG Johannesburg and GDG Pretoria. We look forward to more meetups and further growth of the community. Please, if you haven't already responded, you can still respond to this to this feedback form on the QR code. Let us know what we could do better, what we could improve, what you liked. Let us know what you thought about the talks, and yeah, we will take all that into consideration, because this is all about community. With that said, I want to thank everyone for coming through. Thanks to our speakers, Rosario and Charles. Thank you for the time you put in preparing these talks, and thank you for delivering them. And thanks to the technical team behind the scenes that was making sure that everything was running smoothly. We look forward to further communication. All right, we've come to the end of the broadcast, and we look forward to the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.